Why I Missed VidCon 2014, The Untold Story by Michael Markman. VidCon, I'm sure you know, is the premier conference for people involved in online video, and I have had a perfect attendance record up until this year. The pills in this bottle did me in. I'll explain, but you need a little backstory. Yesterday, I talked about my legs and arms. Today, I have another health problem to share. You haven't heard about this one yet unless you follow me on Facebook. Advisory, old man is about to jabber on about his health. You have been warned. Now, this is a problem I've had for years. In fact, I had it when I was a young man. Decades. I can't remember when it was first diagnosed. I have high blood pressure, hypertension, the silent killer. Now, I managed to control it with a shelf full of pills and dietary supplements. But a few months ago, I got a new physician who decided to explore the root cause of my high blood pressure. High on the list of suspects, my kidneys. Kidneys? Really? Yeah, kidneys. If you know one thing about kidneys, you know their main function is to keep the blood clean by removing wastes and excess electrolytes. As your blood circulates, about 120, 150 quarts of blood will pass through the kidneys every single day. Each day, it puts out 1 or 2 quarts of urine. That's what you know if you know one thing about kidneys. Well, I knew one thing about kidneys, but if you know more than one thing about kidneys, then you might know they also regulate blood pressure. Yes, the kidneys. Who knew? Well, my doctor, fortunately. If a kidney isn't getting enough blood to process, it will send out a hormone, which is how it communicates. The hormone is basically kidney speak for "feed me, Seymour." The kidney hormone triggers another hormone that gets converted into a third hormone, and that constricts the arteries, and that's what raises blood pressure. Now, I didn't know that because I only knew one thing about kidneys: pee. Fortunately, as I said, my doctors know more than one thing about kidneys, and they thought it would be useful to see if my kidneys were contributing to my high blood pressure. So they looked inside of me. Imaging tools, ultrasound, CT scans. You know what they found? Well, they found my left renal artery, the main blood vessel that feeds the kidney, had a narrowing. Showed me a picture. It was a scary picture. It was really, really narrow. My poor little organ was starving. It was shrinking. And my right kidney, to compensate, was growing to take up the slack. So the odds were high that my left kidney was the culprit, sending out that hormone that triggers high blood pressure. My doctor urged me to consider surgery to widen the narrow part of the artery, get more blood to the kidney, and if they were right, maybe I could cut down on my meds. Oh, what does this have to do with missing VidCon? Stay tuned. So here's what they told me when they tried to sell me on the surgery. It's a basically simple procedure. In fact, it's so simple, you don't even have to stay in the hospital overnight. Just come in the morning, we do the procedure. We won't even use general anesthesia, just give you some painkillers and some sedatives. To get to my renal artery and put the stent in, they would come in by a small hole through my groin. Then, when you recover, just lie still for a couple of hours, and if there are no complications, we'll send you home that same day. Recovery, they said, would be quick, maybe 1 or 2 weeks. It was a good pitch. We talked about the benefits, the possible risks. I decided, let's do it. Now, the surgeon had an opening in his calendar 2 weeks before VidCon. Ooh, that's cutting it close, isn't it? But he said 2 weeks to recover, so I took the shot. I took the slot. How did I feel going in? Well, this sign says radiology. I'll explain that in the extras. This is me right after the procedure. I'm a little groggy, I need a shave. Maybe one of the few times my groin has had a closer shave than my face. And this is me walking just a few hours after that. No discomfort because, well, I had been well medicated. And they sent me home with a prescription for oxycodone. Oxycodone? Wikipedia. Oxycodone is a semi-synthetic opioid. Opioid! It's a narcotic analgesic. Narcotic! Generally indicated for relief of moderate to severe pain. It was developed in 1916 in Germany. This drug is even older than I am. It was developed while World War I was still raging. I was developed during World War II. A drug from 1916, and they're still prescribing it? Why? Because it works. I took my first dose at home before the hospital meds had worn off, and another one before bedtime. Morning after was amazing. I awoke completely pain-free. Not only was there no pain around the area of the incision, but my arms and my hips were pain-free. It was a miracle. I was astonished. I was also not thinking too clearly. This was the trap that kept me from VidCon. I just didn't think it through. I'm thinking, wow, now I can walk without crutches and without pain. I can move my arms without pain. It's a miracle. I dropped the crutches, did a lot of walking, did a lot of arm waving and reaching. But of course, that was the trap. I see that now. I didn't think, Michael, you're on a powerful painkiller. That's why you don't feel pain in your arms. By definition. See, I was associating the painkiller with the operation. Never occurred to me it was also masking my arm pain and my hip pain. Nobody warned me about that. Maybe it should have been obvious. but I didn't think it through. Well, how could I? I was on drugs. The doc was right about the 2 weeks for the operation recovery, but I did so much damage to myself in the first 2 days after my operation when the oxycodone finally wore off, and it seemed to happen all at once. I was in agony. The surgery was the least of it. The incision was the least of it. My arms, my legs, I could barely walk. I remember standing in the hallway outside the bathroom, desperate to get to the oxycodone, but I was frozen in pain. I couldn't make a move. Probably lost a week or two of recovery on my hip. Still held out hope of making it to VidCon up to the morning of the flight, but the healing on the hip and the arms just didn't come fast enough. I finally had to face reality, and I broke my perfect attendance record. Until next time, I'm Mickeleh. VEDA extras. Going to take some deeper dives into the science here. The hormone that the kidney puts out is called renin. Renin helps the body make something called angiotensin 1, which doesn't do anything until it's converted to angiotensin 2. Angiotensin 2 raises blood pressure. What converts angiotensin 1 to 2? An enzyme. What do you think they call that enzyme that converts the angiotensin? The angiotensin converting enzyme, naturally. ACE. Well, one class of drugs for hypertension is called an ACE inhibitor. It's meant to block ACE, so the angiotensin never converts. It's meant to jam the chemical signal that comes from the kidney. So the theory of my operation is to keep the kidney from asking for higher blood pressure in the first place. Don't short-circuit the message at the end of the cycle. Keep it forever happening. And it seems to be working. I've dropped one of my meds. Today, I had the lowest blood pressure reading I've had in memory. They used to call the rooms where they do the surgery operating theaters, but now it's more like an operating media room. I come in there and there's a giant video screen with my name on it, and the table has built-in imaging equipment so that the surgical team can see what they're doing inside me. They could look at the screen and see what was happening. That's why the operating room is in radiology. But apparently what was going on inside me wasn't entirely copacetic. I had a surprise when I woke up. Instead of one incision in my groin, I had one on each side. Apparently the first attempt wasn't working out, so the surgeon backed out the catheter and went in again on the other side. Here's VEDA 1. And here's a playlist for my summer project of movies about movies. I think they're all good movies. I think you'll enjoy the videos. Next up in that series, Saving Mr. Banks. Maybe that's not such a good movie. Bye now.